And Mark, let's close out the podcast talking about the
worst
best
team
from the NFC North last year, my Minnesota Vikings. The reason why I wore the Steve shirt this week was because I had to have a little bit of purple in my shirt.
You could have just worn a Viking shirt.
Well, I didn't have one. And here's the thing, Mark. I gained a few pounds since last football season. Thank you for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
My Randy Moss jersey doesn't fit quite as loosely as it did.
It's inspiration,
That's what they'll say out there.
Yeah.
But it's not inspiration. So I had to wear a little bit of purple in my shirt today. Let the Vikings, and a little bit of yellow with the Steve text.
Can I throw this out there, too, as it was my wife and I's anniversary yesterday.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. We bought it's a small cake, but it was still a cake. We bought a triple chocolate cake, and we also went to Cold Stone yesterday. So, it was one of those times where
Dave and I went to Cold Stone twice during VidCon week.
I love Cold Stone. I would have gone there every single day. But it's just one of those problems where you're like, I'm old. I really can't do this anymore. But, I'm going to do it anyways. Bad decisions were made.
Yeah, I just got the vanilla with Reese's in that shake. And then just drank that thing the whole way back to our hotel.
All right. If you're not going to peanut butter cup perfection, I don't know what you're doing.
Well, I wanted a shake. I wanted to put some Reese's in that shake to get that peanut butter in there, and then drink that Reese vanilla shake all the way home.
It's interesting. I don't know. I don't know if I would be able to drink a shake that has chunks of Reese's in it.
Well, I mean, they smash it up and liquefy
I'm sure they
it.
do, but it's still...
it just tastes Reese's is what it does. But we're talking about the Vikings, and here's the first question I got for you.
I tried to distract long enough from the Vikings talk.
This is basically... Colin Cowherd basically brought this up, and I want to ask you, he thinks that the Vikings are, if he was like, all right, the Vikings are going to be a little bit worse, they won't be 13-3. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. And then he's like, oh, they're going to be 8-8. I went, what?
He didn't say they're going to be 8-8.
What is this?
He said they were going to be closer to 500.
He said I could see them to being closer to 8-8, which in my mind was him saying, oh, they're going to be 8-8, 9-7.
See, here's the way I read it as someone who doesn't care about the Vikings.
Well, I've got that purple.
Besides the fact that I would like them to lose all 16 games. I'm a Bears fan, just for the Vikings people out there. They were a 13-3 team last year. The bottom is this 8-8 thing. He's saying that they're going to be closer to that, meaning that if they lose 3 more games, they're now a 10-6 team. That 2 games away from 8-8, as opposed to 3 games away from 13-3. I have the Vikings as a 10-6 team as it stands right now. That is closer to 500 than it is to where they were last year. And he's Colin Cowherd. You know how he is. He's a hot take machine. He puts these things out there because he wants that. He wants that reaction. So, it's the way he's saying it on purpose, but what he's really saying isn't that bad.
Here's what I got.
Although he did say that that they would lose the division. I don't agree with that.
My range, if they lose the division, it's because they lost to the Niners, to the Packers once, to the Rams, to the Eagles, to the Saints, to the Patriots. If they lose 6 games, they are not winning the division.
I currently disagree with you, but...
Because in my mind, this team, at the very worst, if we have a Browns 0-16 year, we are 10-6. In my mind. 10-6 is oh my God, this was a bad year. We lost to all of the teams that I didn't want to lose to and now are scared going into the playoffs. Because... to me, with this team, the question of if they're going to make the playoffs is not a question to me. This team is making the playoffs. The question of will they win the division is a good question because to me, it's going to be either the Vikings or the Packers that win this division. I think both of these teams split their games between each other. I give the Packers the home game. I give the Vikings their home game. So really, it's how are you going to do with other teams? And for me, with the Vikings, the crucial games are the games we've been talking about with every one of these teams. I just listed them. What are you going to do week 1 at home against the 49ers? What are you going to do on the road week 4 against the Rams? What are you going to do that next week, Sunday Night Football, against the Eagles? what are you going to do against the Patriots? What are you going to do against the Saints? What are you going to do against the Seahawks? Those are the games that I'm looking at. Every other game besides the ones that I listed are probably wins. I have no questions about any of the other games. Jets, Bills, Dolphins. It's only those 6 or 7 that I listed are the tough games, and those are the ones, and maybe not even the Patriot one, because that one I'm even chalking up as a loss right away because it's in Foxborough. It's against Tom Brady. I don't think we win that game in the regular season. My whole question is, can we win those tough games against the teams that will be fighting for playoff position in the NFC and will most likely be in the playoff, most of them Eagles, Rams, Niners, and Packers?
Yeah, it's certainly difficult, but I still think even 10-6 you can win the division. You're probably going to win off a tiebreaker with the Packers, or the Packers could be a 9-7 team. Like we said, this division beats itself up. And this conference will beat itself up because you're going to play the West, the NFC West, so that you're going to have some tough competition in that case. Now, the thing with the Vikings is it's almost similar to when Sean and I talked about the Philadelphia Eagles of, well, this was a good team last year. They got better. So, what else is out there? What else is out there is the tough schedule. That, of course, will have them lose some games. There's also, of course, the fact that it's change. You have your offensive coordinator that goes to New York. You put a new offensive coordinator in. It's going to be a little different. Pat Shurmur style offense is much different than what you're going to get from Philadelphia, which is going to be a little bit more
the DiFilippo system.
Yeah, let's move a little faster. Let's be a little bit better. You supposedly are supposed to have a guy who's good at working with quarterbacks. The big question is, who really was responsible for that year 1 to year 2 jump up for Carson Wentz? Who really did that, and who turned Nick Foles from guy who was about to leave the NFL forever into Super Bowl MVP? Somebody was responsible for that. There are 3 guys that could have been responsible. The question is that guy now in Minnesota working with Kirk Cousins? You got good receivers. You get your running back, but you have some solid depth there as well. The defense is one of the best defenses in the league. You just got a new corner as well that you're happy about through the draft. There's a lot here for the Minnesota Vikings to be thrilled and excited about, that if they take a step back, if they're a 10-11 win team, it doesn't really matter. They're just wanting to get to the playoffs, because when they get to the playoffs, what really is going to be a big thing for them then is, even if you don't get a first-round bye, you're still going to be playing a team like the Saints, who you beat last year. Sure, it's a miracle that you beat them, but this is a better team last year. Kirk Cousins is going to do a better job against Drew Brees than Case Keenum will. If you're going against the Falcons, you can say the same thing, that your defense is going to be able to go up against this high-powered Falcons offense very well. And then, once again, Case Keenum can go head-to-head with Matt Ryan. I don't necessarily think that the Panthers are going to be as good as they were last year. If you go against the 49ers, the 49ers are not a complete team. Yes, I know people want to buy the hype on Jimmy Garoppolo, but that team, if they get into the playoffs, they're going to face some real competition, and it's going to hit them in the face very quickly. The Eagles, I would be scared of the Eagles if I'm the Vikings, because they're the Super Bowl champions.
And that's the whole thing of, for me, the Eagles are the team that I'm thinking of. The Eagles, the Rams, the Packers are the teams that I'm thinking about that we could see in the NFC playoffs. And, of course, you want to win the division because you want to get a chance to get that first-round bye. But for me, that home field in that first game at the least is huge, because you look at last year, the game we played at home, Colin Cowherd will go and get a reaction when he makes fun after saying, wow, that was a great game. Look at how they won. Oh, the Saints, you were bad for tackling your own teammate. doing a whole 180 now of basically like, oh, it was a miracle that you guys won that game. And
But I mean, it was.
It was. I did not expect us to win that game. I will be the first one to say that. I was excited running down in surprise in my basement that we won that game. I'm not saying that I'm not going to sit there going, oh, I knew we were going to win it, because I didn't. I thought we lost that game right there and then. But you saw it last year. Mm-hmm. Played a lot better at home. We went on the road and got our asses handed to us. So for me as a Viking fan, of course you want home field advantage. But another part of me, and maybe this is just me as a Vikings fan, I can't help but think, all right, what was one of the big things we did this offseason? We're going to go out. We're going to get our guy at quarterback. We went, we got him, we paid him. So shouldn't this year be Super Bowl or bust for the Vikings because of the contract we gave to Kirk Cousins?
The fully guaranteed contract. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that if you're a Minnesota Vikings fan...
Like, this is Super Bowl or bust for us.
You kind of are in that. But the one saving grace you have is this core, it's going to be there next year. Mm-hmm. You can lose in the conference championship. You can lose in the wild card round, the divisional. It doesn't matter. They're going to be here next year. There might be one or two people who need to get paid, but people are going to be there next year. Now, you have this 2-3 year window for the Vikings, so I don't think you are necessarily completely this, but I get it. I 100% get where you're saying we invested this.
Mark,
we should be
I'm
there.
I'm a Cubs fan. I can't go back to there's always next year.
No, I get it.
Go back
but you also have to be willing to understand that new quarterback, new system, new offensive coordinator. There's a lot of change right now. And we've been saying it all day. The schedule for the NFC North is difficult. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to go and turn around and have to face the Eagles, who also have this young core they don't have to pay yet. The Rams, which are getting closer to the tail end of the young core that they don't have to pay. Mm-hmm. And then the Green Bay Packers, who are your division rival, who, of course, are going to play you tough because Aaron Rodgers is there. You also have the Saints, who have a lot of young players in this core as well. The NFC is built pretty much all the same way. Everybody is doing this Eagles-Rams method of have this. I guess I should give credit to the Seattle Seahawks when they did it, of draft really well and then just spend money on the pieces that you don't have because you have a few years before it kind of screws you.
And the thing that I kind of want to, I don't want to throw it out there like to throw in your face, but when you say like, oh, well, if you lose this year, that's fine because guys are going to be there. Let me just name a few names that we're going to have to try to pay next year. Latavius Murray is one. That's one where I can say if he wants,
don't need him.
Doesn't matter, we've got Dalvin Cook. But then I look wide receiver, Stephon Diggs. That's one I would like to get back. That's one that I would not want to see walk away.
Sure, then but you've got a lot, though, on the... you got a lot of wide receivers. What you need is a guy like Laquan Treadwell to actually play.
Then... there's Sheldon Richardson, who the only reason I throw him out is he's 27. Brian Robinson, he's 35. So, I mean, there's no way that we're looking at. But then the big one to me, Anthony Barr. He's the one we still haven't locked down to an extension where...
I thought you had 2 years of Anthony Barr left.
No, Anthony Barr is done at the end of this year. He's got 12.3 this year, and then he is an unrestricted free agent.
Get paid.
Exactly. And to me, I look at really Diggs and Barr, the big ones, but Richardson and Latavius Murray are there also. And then in the cornerbacks, like you got Anthony Harris, Newman, Marcus Shrells. They're not really the big ones up there with Barr. Barr's the big one. Like if we don't lock him down, he walks away next year. This team is vastly different.
But that's the kind of... Okay, here's a fun question. Diggs or Barr? You only get one. Who are you going to take?
Barr.
Yeah, you're going to get Barr,
all day,
right?
every day.
Diggs was about an 800-yard receiver. You can replace him. It's not easy, but you can replace him. You can get someone else. Like I said, you need a guy like Laquan Treadwell to really kind of get lifted with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has been on teams that did not have wide receivers in the past. He can help out with that. Kendall Wright was a good wide receiver who just hasn't necessarily truly reached his potential.
Drops
this is going to be
ball
the best
all the time.
Yes, that's true. This is going to be the best quarterback that he's had throwing him the ball. You don't want to lose Diggs, but you can survive it.
Part of me feels like this'll be this year, coming into this year for the Vikings. I feel like this is going to be the best chance we have. The best chance we have to win a Super Bowl. And if we don't do it this year, every other year after is just going to be harder and harder and harder to do because of all the animosity we're going to have to go through. We're like, if we don't do it this year, then you got the whole, are we getting Barr back? Then you got the question of like, you gave Kirk Cousins that much money. If you didn't win the Super Bowl last year, you're going to do it this year kind of a thing, to where I almost feel like this is good or bad for the Vikings. This is Super Bowl or bust for the Minnesota Vikings, only because of what we did. We could, let's be completely honest, this team could have been like, hey, you know what? We're going to pay Pat Shurmur to stay. We're not going to let him walk away. We're going to pay some money to Case Keenum to keep him here. Not going to pay as much for Keenum as we would for a Kirk Cousins, and we're just going to go again. But no. What we did was we went out, we wooed Kirk Cousins, we gave him the fully guaranteed contract to get him here no matter what. This was our LA LeBron James, except the only difference is we have a team here in Minnesota. The Lakers are still building theirs over time. If we don't win a Super Bowl this year, it could be one of the times we look back at Minnesota and just go, man, remember Minnesota in 2018, man? Yeah, it was probably the best chance they had to win a Super Bowl. Yeah, man, but God, could you imagine if they did? Man, I can imagine it, but they didn't, and then we move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you still, if you don't win it this year, I still think next year is fine. I think you'll be okay because you'll be able to pay Barr. You'll probably be able to pay Diggs as well. You're probably going to be fine. If not, you can replace Diggs. But the thing is, you do have a point that once you get about 3 years, 4 years out, when a lot of these guys start needing to get paid, then it will look bad. Of course. Then it will start to look bad. But when you look at the alternative, and you brought it up yourself, you weren't going to keep Shurmur. Shurmur was going to go no matter what. But if you had paid Case Keenum the money, it wasn't going to be huge money. He wasn't going to get a fully guaranteed contract or anything like that. But if you paid him the money, if you just hoped that Teddy Bridgewater was going to be healthy enough to play, which he might have been, but you don't know, that would have been worse for you than going out there, taking the shot, and it just not working out.
No, we had to take the shot for Kirk Cousins. I get that. It's just I feel like because we made that move, Super Bowl or bust this year, and how I look at it for the Vikings is we've got a talented team. Like, there's no question about that. My question is just those few games that I said. 49ers week 1, that's going to be a tough game because the 49ers are going to be a better team. They were a different team with Jimmy Garoppolo compared to not Jimmy Garoppolo. Packers week 2 will be tough. Week 4 will be tough because it's at LA. Then at Eagles the next week, week 5. The Saints game, what that's going to be like, is that going to bring back revenge memories for the Saints because it's at Minnesota. They are returning to
they're going to feel like we should have won that game.
Exactly. We're coming back to the scene of the crime. The Patriots, like I said, we ain't winning that game. The Seattle one, Seattle's defense ain't what it used to be, but that is in Seattle, and Seattle is hard to beat at home with that 12th man behind them. I just feel like, we talked about the schedule being tough for most of these NFC teams, but the Vikings really, I say Super Bowl or bust, and then I look at this schedule and I go, man, the schedule, whoever put this schedule together did not do us any favors.
Seems like to me that you're just accepting that you guys have lost already.
No. I'm not saying that because I have this team 13-3, going to be the number 1 seed, and will be the favorite front runner to be in the Super Bowl this year. I just feel like if you look at everything, it's kind of like how we talk about like the Cleveland Browns, where I said, man, on paper, this team is really good. I just don't think they're going to win a lot of games. Similar here. I look at the attitude that might be the whole like Super Bowl or bust. I look at the schedule. Man, this deck might be stacked against us. But I think in the end, this team will beat, like right now, I got them 13-3. I could see them 11 to 13 wins, 1-3. And that's basically, do we win the division and finish 12 to 13, or do we win the division and finish with 11 and we're 3 or 4? I'd put us at 3. And then in the playoffs, what are we going to do after we get there?
Yeah. What's interesting with the NFC in general, but for the detriment to Vikings fans, is, I mean, you got the Eagles, who are, I don't want to call them a super team because I don't want to bring back any bad memories for Eagles fans, but they're not far from it. You got the Rams, who are kind of going for the super team thing right now. You got the Saints, who I don't know if I would go that direction with them, but they're certainly a very good team. And then you got the Vikings. You got all these stacked teams right now. So the Vikings are taking their shot, but they're taking their shot at the same time that two other teams are doing the exact same thing, and one other team is saying, we only got Drew Brees for a little bit more. Let's do everything we can to get this Super Bowl.
And I'll be completely honest. In my head, right now, the only 3 games I have out of the 13-3, the 3 that I have the Vikings losing, Packers, Patriots, and Eagles. Patriots I'm really high on. I don't think there's many teams that are going to beat them this year. Packers, we will split with them. They will probably be the only team in the division to actually get a win against us. Eagles, we couldn't win against last year. Reason why Rams and Saints, I've got wins. Saints were at home, which is good. We beat you guys at home. I think we can beat you guys again. Plus, regular season to playoff, is it going to have that same intensity that it had last year?
They're coming back.
It could, though, because of what happened last year. And then it's like the Rams. Yeah, I know we played you guys at home last year and beat you 24-7. But if our defense did that well against you, I think we can go to LA and get a win against you with Kirk Cousins with this defense. So that's why Rams and Saints, I have wins against those teams. And then the Seahawks, it's, yeah, we're playing you on the road, but it's me, the question of with the Seahawks, they're going to take a dip this year because of how lesser their defense is this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting. You've put it out there before. You know, it's possible that the Bears can upset you at home at week 11.
I put the asterisk by
the
that
Rams
every year.
Is that home game, so that's going to be a tough one.
It's a Thursday nighter too.
You know, the Lions, if they're closer to what I think the Lions are going to be, there's a chance they can upset you in one of these games.
They beat us last year,
so it's going to be interesting for sure. But like I said, I still think even 10-6. Minnesota Vikings can win the division. They're not going to be the number 1 seed. They're the number 2 seed necessarily, but I think they can still win the division at 10-6.
What do you think happens, national media overall, if the Vikings lose week 1 against the Niners and then lose week 2 against the Packers? What do you think the general state of the team is if they're 0-2 heading into Bills week 3?
People are definitely going to think that the sky is falling. I mean, you're definitely going to get the, was Kirk Cousins signing a bust? Is he not the real deal? Is not what he's expected? You'll have lots of plays on the whole fully guaranteed type of headlines and stuff like that. But I think that most people will sit there and say, yeah, but they played 2 good teams. Most people are going to get that, but you're going to get some of those hysterics out there. The problem that you're going to have
survive the first 5 weeks.
Well, it's exactly that. It's
survive.
Sure, you can lose those first 2 games and then come back and beat the Bills, and people are like, "Yeah, the Vikings are back." But then they got to play the Rams and the Eagles on this, 2-week road stretch. That's not easy. Those are 2 high-powered offenses out there, one of which has a extremely good defense as well in the Rams. That's going to be a very difficult 5-game stretch for you. I hate to say it to you, Ricky, but you have an opportunity to be a 2-3 team coming out of these 5 weeks.
I was thinking it. I was even thinking worse than that.
Of 1-4?
I could see 1-4 after the first 5. Everyone, even myself, being like, "Oh my God, what's going on with this team?" But to me, it's everything after week 5. All we have to do is survive the first 5 weeks. If we get out of those first 5 weeks 2 to 3 wins, I'm happy with that. 3 wins is ideal. 2 wins is at the least is what I'm happy with. But then after that, Cardinals win. Jets win. I'm going to say that Lions game win. The Saints won, up in the air only because I want to be confident that we'll win that Sunday night, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints won it. The Bears are a winnable team. Packers at home, I think we can beat. The Dolphins should be a winnable team. The only big question games after that are the Saints, Patriots, and Seahawks.
Yeah. I think that the risky thing for you is, as I play around with it right now, is I actually had you guys losing both Rams and Eagles just because it's away games. If I had you beating the 49ers, Packers beat you guys for the first one. I have you splitting. If I switch that 49ers one, that would be the thing that would make you 9-7, knock you out of the playoffs. I don't necessarily think that's the way it's going to go.
I don't see us, like, if we go 10-6, that sky is falling. We're like, sky is falling what has happened this year.
Any given Sunday.
I see us more as a 13-3, 11-5 team.
It's going to be interesting, that's for sure, because this is a team that a normal year, this team would be a Super Bowl favorite. But you're competing against Patriots dynasty, the Eagles, the Rams, who look like they're really good. Drew Brees is making his last push for one more Super Bowl ring. There's an abnormal amount of really, really, really good teams that we're going to remember for a long time.
This is what we get for being a part of the NFC.
Yeah.
Where you look at the AFC and it's basically
I only mentioned one team.
Like, to compare it to basketball, the NFC is basically the Western Conference of football. Where it's basically the toughest division, and then you look over into the AFC, and it's like, well, it's either going to be the Patriots, Steelers, or Jaguars. Take your pick. Like, oh, the Broncos could be better this year, but in the end, it'll be Patriots, Steelers, and Jaguars will be the 3 favorites and the 3 teams that people pick to win the Super Bowl or win the AFC to represent that conference in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Any final thoughts you got on the Vikings or the NFC North as a whole?
NFC North, I mean, everybody's going to beat each other up so badly. It's going to be fun. It really will be a lot of fun. This
is one of the toughest. This and the AFC South are usually the toughest divisions in football. Am I right? Because the AFC,
no, I wouldn't say the AFC South is the toughest.
I would say, like, they are usually teams where it's like, on really good years, it's like,
it's been a while since the Titans have been good. The Colts have not been that good for a while either, besides Andrew Luck's 2 years of being good.
When they're a good conference,
and when Andrew Luck was there, the Texans were bad and the Jaguars were bad.
When they're a good division.
Yeah, when anybody's a good division, it's a tough division.
There have been more times where that division, it's been like, wow, last place is 8-8 in that division.
The AFC South?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not remembering correctly, but I remember more years where there was a clear-cut winner in the AFC South, or everybody was bad.
I'm just saying, like, overall.
I'm saying the NFC South is maybe what you should be thinking about. But,
no, they just can't decide who wants to win each year. Like, that's the thing where it's like, who won that division? Who won it last year?
And you're out.
They're not going to win it this year.
AFC East had that thing going on, too. You know, those are... I might have said AFC, I meant NFC East. There's been a lot of them.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below. The camera has gone dead, so you're looking at our logo. Let us know what you think about the Viking season down below in the comment section. Is it Super Bowl or bust? Am I freaking out as a Viking fan? And should I just be like, woosah, woosah, Ricky, just chill. Everything is going to be okay. Don't freak out. The season has not started yet. There's plenty of time for that. Want to thank you guys for listening and watching to the Onside Kick this week. A little bit of housekeeping here at the end. Make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast to help support the channel more so than you guys are already doing. Make sure to check out our store down below in the description to get your hands on one of our hot MVP t-shirts. You can also get that at mostvaluablepodcast.com. It's also where you can catch MVP each and every day. Also, do not forget to go and rate us on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Give us that 5 stars and then let us know why you like listening to the podcast so much each and every week. Want to thank you guys for watching and listening this week. Mark and I will be back next week talking about the AFC South, that same division that Mark was kind of throwing some shade at here at the end of this podcast.
I stand by what I said.
It's
not as good of a division as you want to say it is.
We will be talking about the AFC South next week. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. And as always, have a good day, everybody.